Hello, good evening. Good evening. Just testing the audio. You never can be sure. Welcome back to my stream. Hi, folks. Hopefully you can hear me well this time and we don't have any audio issues. If you're watching live, then you can let me know in the chat. And if I'm paying attention, I will see your message. Welcome to my stream. I'm Sam. I'm going to be streaming some procedural building of space stations. This is number 8, I think, in this. I've done these so far. We've currently got, most recently, we've got these doorways we've been working on. We've built rooms. We've played with floor patterns, things like that. And this time, we're going to be incorporating these new doors, which I can show you quickly here, like this. These new doorways, and they are positionable within the wall. We're going to get them in on the actual rooms along the edges. If optionally, you can switch them on and off. You can position them, and then if we have time, I'm going to try and get it so that you can have one room with a door, and when you bring it up to another room, it makes a little hole so the door works. Then we can run around in a space station. It's a long shot. We might be able to do it today. We'll see. See how I get on. I'll get cracking. There's a few things I want to try and do as well along the way, but you'll see those in a minute. So we have the doorway on a wall segment, but at the moment I don't think. Well, I'm assuming it's the same wall section. This is a single procedure, which I'll open up and I'll show you. Let's have a look. So this is the room procedure. We can see we're bounds coming in here, which is the size this way, and the seed, and whether or not the ceiling's showing, which is just something we put in so that we could see in the room while we're working on it. Yep, takes the space, divides it up, puts 4 walls in, 4 corners in, and a floor and a ceiling. The ceiling is optional, as we saw. What we have in here, at the moment the wall is just wall row, space of blah, blah, blah. Yes, so there's a bunch of logic here. What are we doing here? What's this? Oh, this is a test one. Okay, so we haven't got the logic in the main wall. We've just got it in here. What's this then? Oh, that's right. Because we're using this wall row. This wall row procedure is used for a single stretch of wall in the actual room at the moment, but what we need to do is use this one, which uses two stretches either side of the doorway. So can we just use this? Not sure. We might be able to. Door offset, open this, seed frame. Could do. I could rename this so it's no longer a test. Let's do that. Where has it gone? Test door, wall, door, test door, this one. So let's just call it single doorway. A wall with a door in it, single doorway, let's call it that. At the moment, just going to support a single door in a wall. Later we'll look at more multiple doors, but that's a bit more complicated, as you can probably imagine. So let's do one and then take the hit later on fixing that for multiple. I don't want this because I don't want it to get too complicated too quickly. Let's just see how it goes. Right, single doorway. Let's have a look back at our room. So instead of right, what I might do. So what I want to, in the same way we've got the smart editing stuff here, where you can drag the room around and drag these boxes. I want to be able to have it so you can click on a wall and have it put the door in or toggle the door, and then have a handle to drag it up and down, so the parameters can change and will change interactively, and we can interactively place a door. But which means there's going to be some extra logic, like for these handles and the actions that get carried out when you interact with them. So what I might do is wrap the these side walls in some logic to accommodate that, or in a procedure which we can use for the logic, which means what we're going to do is go back in here. So I think instead of just using the other procedure in here, I think the room or the wall, single doorway, I think I might do, this is wall row, I'm going to add a procedure called editable wall, is it just row, editable, yes, wall with editing features, e.g. doorway. Again, we can rename it later if we don't like it. Initially, it's just going to be our single doorway, the offset, how far open it is, and the results. So we've got space here. We can build extra logic and things in, and we need to replace. We did this before actually. I've already replaced these once. I'm going to have to replace them again, aren't I? Let's see what that looks like. Editable wall. Well, we've got a few more inputs going on here. Door offset. So now another thing. I'm going to do it there. I'm going to do it there. Doesn't matter. For now, I'll leave that as it is. But what I do need to do. So if this for this room to be editable with handles, the parameters that get changed by those handles need to be available at the top level. So we're going to need some extra inputs here for where the whether a wall has got a door in it, and then where along the line it is. So I think for now I'm just going to put a bunch of inputs to control that. I think in here we had it so that if the offset, oh, is that from the center? Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Yes. Oh, we didn't do any logic. I thought there was some logic to turn the door off if it wasn't needed, but there isn't. So what we might do in here is have that logic. So we can switch between with or without a door. Let's put that in here. So if it's got a door, we'll do that. And if it hasn't, we won't. Same frame, same seed. And then this will come. For now, again, I'm just going to bring this out here as a has door offset. So that's how much has been opened. We'll probably not fiddle with that much for now. So out here, yeah, there's a whole load of stuff we need to hook up. All right, I'm going to take this over here for a minute because I want to do. Where's it going to come from? Right, so we can hook up. We can hook these up. We can hook the frames and the seeds up in a minute, but I do want to drag these out. So do we do it like that? I think we do like that. So I'm going to bring out. Right, a couple of points here. So I'm going to bring out I'm going to have one of these for each side. So we're going to have 4 of these, and each one will have a flag to say whether there's a door, and then there's a value to say where along the wall it is. I'm going to do it relative to the center so that it doesn't have a bias. As you change the size, it'll be relative to the middle. It'll be a bit more balanced. But for reasons which will maybe become clear in the future, I'm going to make this offset input a float value. So we can just add those here like this. So this is going to be, well, let's do it. Which order are we doing it in? What order do we have here? West, east, south, north. Let's do the same again. So this is west door. This is west door. Offset. Okay, so that's gonna feed in here. For now, we've got an int value here because we're doing it in whole tile steps, and we are passing in a float, so I'm going to have to convert that. There is a float to integer. Later on, we will see why I'm doing it like that. And, well, it's a hunch. We'll see what happens, but I predict we are going to need it to be a float. And we'll have to fix some other stuff up to accommodate that later. But if this input is a float now, it makes a few other things simpler. So we want this, but multiple inputs, one for each thing. So we're going to need a one of these for each of these. And then we need to hook them up. So we've got has_door offset, has_door, oops, offset, hasdoor, offset. And we were going to do east door offset. What was it? South door, south. Oh, I've done that wrong. What happened there? I missed one. Oh, it's that one I missed. Damn. Oh, well, let's scoot these up. There we go. Right, that's better. So now we've got those set up, we can move them over here and rewire these. So it's largely the same information. So the frame, the seed, the frame, the seed, frame, the seed, the frame, and seed. Did I get that right? West, east, south, north. Yes. So we don't want these anymore. We're using these. And I'm going to hook these up instead. They should just replace as is, because at the moment we put the same functionality inside. Let's turn off the smart hosing. Right, so that's back working, or appears to be. In here, we've just got this. What I can test though, now that we have this, we should have a bunch of inputs. Do we want a west door? Yes. Ah, interesting. Offset is not from the center. Oh, the -5 was to make it the center of the door position. That's right. It's not. Maybe I should do it centered on the wall. Then naught would be in the middle. I think I might do that. It's a bit more resilient to resizing. I think we should do that. Let's see. Doorway, single doorway. So here we took off 5 for the width to allow for the width of the door. We also want to take, or we want to add on half the length of the wall. So if we get the wall dimensions and add it's gonna make we don't we've gone back into a float here, haven't we? Might not work very nicely for now. We're gonna have to make do. What I might do then is, till we've properly embraced the floating point nature of this, what I'm going to do is take the X, I can't remember, I think it's X. No, it's Y. X is sticking out of the wall, that's right. I'm going to add half of this to the integer value, so that we still keep in multiples of 1, which otherwise it will end up feeding floats into this, and the wall hasn't been designed to work like that yet. So if I add to this offset this value and use that instead. There we go. That means it's 0. Oops, what happened there? 0 is in the middle. We can. Okay, yeah, we can't go negative because it's not. We've told it we can, and we also probably want to limit the range. So in here we've. Oops. Let's go back to the smaller one. On these for inputs, you've got this little metadata you can set. So here you can do things like it's ranged, and it goes from, let's go -20 to 20, and then now this will be a slider from 20 plus or minus 20, which will be fine for what we want at the minute. Let's leave it in the middle, and I'll set that for the other ones as well. Offset here, ranged -20, 20. Offset -20, 20. Okay, that means we should be able to control all the sides. I might move these out of the way for the minute because we're, oops. Oh god, that again. Right, let's move those out of the way so we can focus on this room here. So that's, what do we say, west door there, east door, yep. Again, we can adjust the position, south door, north door. Okay, so we have a load of doors if we want them. That's good. I'm going to turn those off for the minute. I'll leave that one on while we work on the next bit. How are we doing? 15 minutes. Cool. A few people watching. That's good. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my stream. Where were we? Right. This editable wall. So it now selects whether or not we have that. Right. If we go back up to the main here, we can see our editing functionality works through this operator here. At the moment, the only handles we're passing in are from this editing utility, which has the smart functionality in it. So we got the click to toggle the ceiling, we can move it around, and we can resize these handles here. So that's what that adds. If we're going to add controls for each wall, we can do that within the wall procedure we just created. But we do need to then pass that out to feed it into that handles input. So let's do that. Let's go in here. Have a look. So we're going to create a similar thing, but for a wall, not the whole room. And they're going to live in here. They'll need to get passed out as a separate content output. So we'll have multiple outputs here. We can merge them in a similar way and then feed them in to the handles input of the smart editing operator. So we're going to need to do that. Let's just chuck one in just to get us going, and then we can tune it in a minute. So what I'm going to need is, so this is all under the editing functionality, which is still experimental. Oops. But we can turn it on, and we need to put a box handle in, and we also want to visualize that. So I will use my, where do we put that? Utility. Show handle. Yes, we had the semi-transparent thing going on, and then if it's highlighted, we want to show it, and if it's not, we don't. I think is that what we want to do. We can play with that in a minute. We're not going to have the whole bounds. What I will want to do is, for now, I'm just going to quickly hack together a bounds that is a little bit in the middle. Let's go a quarter, and we are going to make it slightly taller so that it sticks up, so we can see it. Each wall is going to need the handles for each wall are going to need unique names. So what I need to do there is have a parameter on this procedure so I can configure that. But I am going to give them a prefix. And let's just call this name. So side of room, for example. and that's going to be the name. The bounds we've already done. The handle is there. So the handle itself needs to go into the handles input, so that needs to come out as a separate output. The visuals for the handle are part of the need to come out as part of the normal content. So that will need to get merged in there. Let's do that here. Here, if it's on. Oops. Oh, we've broken something. Excellent. What have we broken? Handle. Let me check what the other ones look like. Just see if I've done anything wrong. Oh no, they can all go in together. The handle and the visuals go together. All right. And then it ends up handles. Okay. That wasn't needed. Where's it gone? It wasn't actually needed there. What was needed was that. So all the editing logic down here, which we can stick in a. It's probably gone in a sub procedure. Can live down there. Let's just call this handles. Yeah. And this is the visuals. Let's do that. All right. Main. Right. So now they've all got a name as well. So we need to set that. And they've got a bit bigger, so I'll make a bit more space. And they've all got these handle outputs now, which I need to merge. So let's just grab another one of these and hook all those up. Now these need to go down here. We've already got some handles, but we need to include those. We need to name them. Right, what was it? We lost the little names on top, but we've got a name here now. We'll do it here. And this is connected to west. This is connected to east. So these names you don't really see anywhere, but they are used to uniquely identify each handle, so the interaction system knows what you're pointing at and what you're talking to. Let me just check. That's all good. Yep, all good. What was I saying? Yes, these names, as long as they're all different, the interaction system can track them all properly. Okay, let's see what that's done. Has it done anything? Wait a minute. What I was going to make sure, opacity, color, 0.5. Don't know why that's that. I'm just going to make them blue for now. Let's so they stand out. Now, do we have anything? We have a handle that's split the wrong way. Is what we have because it's going full length. Let me. I can't see it there. Resize. I split it 0.25 that way. Let's do that. Yeah. So now we've got a handle on the wall that is, well, it's on all the walls at the moment. You can see here there's a center section. What it might be, so it might be nice to have. Got some thoughts, but we can play with that in a minute. Let me do something here. Instead of 0.25, let's just make it, 10 units, because it will then match the size of the door. Brilliant. So if you haven't got a door, you don't need the handle to show for the door. But what we could do is, what it might be a good idea is that if there's no door, the handle for the wall, you can click it to toggle the door. So, and then when it does toggle, it is available as a highlightable thing which you can drag and move around. So, well, let's try and get that working. at the moment this door is set to on and the other one's set to off. But if we make it so that these main handles toggle the how we can do that. Okay, we want the door handle, sorry, the wall handle on the room to toggle that wall's doorway. Let us have a look at that. What do we got? So what we're saying is this editing logic here needs to have, does it actually need any of this stuff? No. What we can do, so in here, rather than doing it as a sub-procedure, I copied it, which was a bit messy. This could actually be in the new procedure we built. Thoughts. Would make a lot of sense because it's all the same functionality. Up for a bit of refactoring, folks? Should we do that? I don't think it would require much because it's basically the bounds of the wall, the handle logic for it, and then that happens on each wall, and that's what we've got here. We've got, this is the bounds of the wall. We've got some editing logic for the wall already. We're just going to add it down here. Let's try it. We can always just unhook it actually in here. So if I disconnect all these, we now no longer have wall handles, only the main one, which is at the top here. So this is, see, these are all named, yeah, these are all named differently, the size handles. Let's copy that into here. So this is now doorway editing, and this is size editing. Yeah, there's might need a little extra parameterization, I realise, because we've got some differences. I think some of these are slightly different. Yeah, this movement is different here. Bounds is slightly different as well. Other than that, it's the same. Oh, the names as well. So we can derive the name already. We need some sort of side logic, or we just pass in. So these are whether it's. So this is the horizontal, these top two, which has got the 1 in the, so it's working in the x-axis. These are the vertical, it's working in the y-axis. These are the upper and these are the lower. Got half positive, negative, negative, positive. Is this south? Lower, west, lower. Yes, lower side is. So if we knew whether it was the lower or upper side of which axis, which we can do with some sort of direction thing, we'll do that, and then we'll derive these, so just from a single input. That would be fine. Probably go with not using the names. It's fine, we'll do it. Let's see what that looks like. So a bit of refactoring, but it's going to be neater, and it means we're not going to have all of this duplication in here. We're just going to do it all in the actual wall piece. Let's have a look. So first of all, let's make a name. So based on the name, it's now going to be called the size something. Size north, south, east, west. That's fine. The box handle. That's the whole thing, and also there. Handles. We're going to merge them together. Let's assume we're going to have some more bits and pieces going on. So we'll do those handles. Those handles. Oops. Stick them in there. Do we have them back? Yes, we do. Slightly wrong size. Let me have a look. I bet we did something slightly different here. Yeah, we resized slightly. We can do the same resize actually. See, that was before. Gonna work? Probably. We'll give it a go. Oops, hello. Let's move that over here. It's mainly to get rid of the Z fighting. I think, I'm not sure how we avoided them overlapping. It was an extension. Oh, I know what it is. I thought we did an extend. Where's the editing? No, it's based on the full bounds. Oh, maybe the other one's smaller? Split? No. Maybe it did overlap. It didn't overlap nicely. Oh, we sliced off. Oh, no, we're slicing there. Oh, we're slicing a bit more off than. Oh, I think it's because here we're slicing off one, whereas here we're slicing off this. So let's pass that in and use that value instead. Yeah, this is that's what we need to do. So that can go in there, and that will give us. It's not quite what I meant, but it's good enough. Oh, why are we still bigger? It's because of that, probably. I'm going to bypass that. Oh no, I'm not. What I'm going to do is stop it. Only do it in Z. That's what we'll do. And then we. Oh, why is that still not inside? It works well enough. We'll look at it later. So we've got to sort these inputs out. Otherwise, the walls are not going to drag in the right direction. Well, that one happens too. This one, no, no. They're all doing the same drag because they're the same logic. That is what we need to look at next. So we need to know which axis it's on and whether it's the lower or upper side, and we can do that with a bit of funky logic. So let's do that. If I have an input here which is side, which side of the room, and we're going to do 0 for west, 1 for east, 2 for south, 3 for north. It doesn't go around and it doesn't go round, but that doesn't really matter because we're just manually setting these values for each of the things. Sorry, just checking a message. Nope. Right, so we're trying to derive this amount here that we're going to move by, and it either needs to be, for the x-axis it's 1, 0, 0, and for the y it's 0, 1, 0. And then also this value here needs to be positive or negative depending on whether it's the lower or upper side. And we can do that by looking at these values here. So the way I set these up, in binary, this is 0, 0, this is 0, 1, this is 1, 0, and this is 1, 1. And if we look carefully at that, which I can't align, the lowest bit is 0 if it's the lower side, west and south, and 1 if it's the higher side, east and north. And the second bit, index 1, is 0 if it's east-west horizontal, and 1 if it's north-south vertical. So we can use that with a little bit test here. So this is going to be lower or upper, and then we're going to have another one which is the second index, which we talked about, which is horizontal or vertical. And then we can, with those, if we do this, so then we can select what we need. So lower or upper, that's this one down here. For lower we want to have minus 0.5 and for upper we want positive 0.5. Bang. Do it this way around. And then for the actual frame drag, we've got, this time we're looking at horizontal or vertical. Horizontal is the X, which we saw in the other procedure here. So the east and west ones, yeah, it's the X. So let's set that in here to be 100, and then nope, hang on. Horizontal is 0, which is, yes, there's the false. And then if it's true for the vertical, we want Y. Bang. Fingers crossed, that should automatically, so this value we now have to set everywhere, which is here. So again, we've got more inputs. For the west side is 0, for the east side is 1, west, east. South side is 2, and north side is 3. So, and here they're in order, but that's because we're not quite going around the outside. Now each one knows which side it is. It should be able to work out the logic that to recreate this, the differences here for each of the 4 sides. Now we've unhooked these. Let's check it's all hooked up here. So we've got the handles coming into here, hooked into there. We have all the handles here. This is the logic here. Okay, let's try it. So this was the original. Oops, this was the original wall, and that works. And the other side, yep. This side. Oh no, broken. This side. Oh, interesting. That is moving it in the wrong axis. What's going on there? What have I done? Let's sort of double check. So bit 0 is whether it's lower or upper. Lower or upper bit 0. Bit 1 is whether or not it is vertical. So let's just change that to say vertical. Vertical is the one. Is that right? East hooked up to east. West there. South there. North there. South, north there. East, west is the X. Yeah, why is that? Oh, hang on, I wonder if there's something here we're missing. No, everything else, I think everything else is the same. Bounds. Oh, hang on, did I? Yeah, that's just bounds because it's a single. Oh, that's not unique. Ooh, what is that? Oh no, it's not. It doesn't. That's not. Doesn't need to be unique. That is the name of the parameter we're editing, which is this bounds here. This is the handle needs to be unique. What are we missing? What have we done? I wonder if it's orientation. Shouldn't be because we're in here. We're taking it from the 9 slice and not doing anything with it, which is exactly what happens here. The 9 slice goes straight into each wall. West is west. East is east, which is 1. South 2 connects to south. North 3. Any ideas, chat? Let me just double check what we're actually playing with. So it was this. Oh, hang on, that worked. That didn't. That didn't. That did. So this is the X is that way. Why? So the north-south don't work. That's interesting. Why do the north-south not work? And what are they doing? They're changing the size, but they're moving the wrong axis. They're moving, so negative is left. Okay, so north-south is not moving in the right axis, which is kind of like here. I wonder if that is true. Vertical. Next one. Side. So that should be 0, 1, 2 and 3. Bit 1 is set. So for vertical, it should be using, it should be true, which would then, no, that's not working. Yeah, that's broken those, which is expected. And then false. Those work again, but these, oops, these do, oh, I've got something very funky going on here. I'm sure it's very straightforward, but I'm not sure what I've done unless something, oh, the move. The resize was right, it's the move that was wrong. So this is lower side, upper side needs to be positive. This is lower side. Oh, I know what I've done. Let's have a look. Oh, no, where's it gone? Editing. I know what I've done, I know what I've done. I have not spotted that this also, I'm pointing at the screen, you can't see me pointing at the screen. This also goes from X in the horizontal to the Y in the vertical. So we need to do the same thing as we did here. But what we can do, we can be clever about that, I think. He said, being clever, or trying to be clever already. Multiply and if. So what we can do, nope, not that one. There's another multiply for taking, we can take this and then multiply it by our half so that it's the axis is chosen here still, and then we choose the lower or the upper, oops, here, and do that. That looks to me like it's better. One there, one there, one there, one there. Yay, we're back to functionality. Sorry for the detour. That is better. I will make this a bit bigger so we can have all this logic in here. So the size editing logic happens there, the doorway editing happens here. We'll come back to the doorway in a minute. That means we can get rid of all of this, which I'm going to do right now. Okay, let's reset that. So if we need any other top level editing, not just this thing, we can do that in here. But for now we're done, and we've moved it all from there, from here into each of the walls. Right, back on track. How are we doing? Yes, cool. That'll be right. So I want to be able to click on this now. Which now we've got this in here per wall, we can get to that. So the box handle is here, and we're using the drag because if you pull on the side, it resizes. But we can use the click input so that when you click on it, it does something. But what are we going to do? Do we say? So what we're trying to do is change the. Go back to the top level. For a given wall, we want it to toggle the appropriate input here, which you can see on the right. So we can toggle things on and off. as we click on the wall. So to do that, we need the name of this top level input, which we can derive. We've got the west, east, south, and north. We just need to add space door ? And there is an editing operator for changing bool parameters. I think set parameter b, which we can use. Let's have a look how that works. So what else do I need to do? Let's move that out of the way. We're going to need a bit more logic space here. Nope, we're doing it down here. Well, it's doorway editing. What I'm going to do cheekily. Let's move these up. So we've got something for setting parameters. What this does is literally, as it says, it will set a named parameter on the top level procedure when it's activated. And this operation here, we can hook straight into the click. We don't need to worry about the index. That's an advanced feature. The value, see, this is the clever bit. It behaves like the whole input set of input parameters for your procedures effectively behaves like the state in a state machine. And for each action, you have to set that action up so that it moves that state to the new state that you want. And effectively, for every state, you derive the next state when that action happens. And in this case, we are wanting to set the input to the opposite of what it is currently. And we know what it is currently because it's passed in here with the has door. We can see they're all hooked up, these green lines here, to the procedure. So we've got the current state, and we want to set it to the opposite, and we can do that with some Boolean logic. We've got a not we can use. So we take this, we're going to set the value to not the current value, i.e. toggle. Now we need to test out which name it is, and we can see they're called this, and as I mentioned, we can build that much like we did up here with the wall. In fact, I'll just copy that because it's already got the input, except that we're going to have it the name come in first because it's the beginning of the string, and then we're going to set the rest to space. Oops, hang on, here, space door, as in do we have a door? Hook up the parameter there, and that should be enough to do what I need. Let's test it. So if I click here, we get a door. Click again, it goes away. Click here, door. Click here, we can turn off the door. Beautiful. So we can add a door in. We can take the door out. We don't need the blue box when there is no door. We're going to use the whole thing to toggle. So let's change that. So that's this handle here. This whole handle is not needed if there is no door. So let's just copy this because we want some logic to turn it on and off. If we have a door, which is this input here, we'll have this handle. Cool. So if I click on the wall, I get a door, and I also get the handle. It's not in the right place, but we'll work that out in a minute. Okay, cool. We can interactively edit the whether a door is in the wall or not. Good work. Well done. Let's see. So now what I can imagine would be the useful thing is this new handle we've added here, the blue one, is to be able to drag it and have it move the door up and down. Now let me think. I may or may not be able to support this, but let's have a go. Let's try. There might be a bit of a caveat. So it'll depend on the editing features. Parameter drag, float. There we go. I can do it. So that, instead of just setting a value, which isn't particularly useful if you want to be able to increase and decrease it as you drag, Instead, you need to do similar to the moving the object or the resizing, which are specific to adjusting frames. If it's just a single little parameter like a float value, which coincidentally it is, hint hint, we can use this to change that. Right. Oh, there's all sorts of things we can set here. What we got? Yep. Right. So this is going to be right. So we've got our handle, but we're not doing anything with it. What we need is to be able to specify what happens, and we can do that with this drag. So we're going to hook it up to the drag input, so that when you drag that blue box, it will do something, and that something is going to be here. So we've got something door offset. So similarly, we can build another name for it, like before. This time it's called something door offset. That's the parameter we want to edit. Now there's other things here we can fiddle with, but we may or may not need those. The options are to do with whether or not it clamps, and then there's a minimum and maximum to set. So you can set them both, or you can just have one or the other. And then it'll clamp those. For now, I don't think we'll bother. Maybe I will. Like we put on the sliders, that plus or minus 20. That's fine for these rooms. We'll just leave it at that. So let's clamp it to minus 20 and oops, and 20. We can change that later. In theory, that's all I need to do. I think the parameter drag is like up and down, or it might be relevant to the box handle. I can't remember. We can see. Let's see what happens now that we've hooked that up. So if I drag this blue bit, oh, it is up. I think it's relative to the left and right. Has some weird behavior. So that's interesting. We can drag the position of the door, so we can toggle the door on and off, and we can drag the position of the door. So let's do that on this one. Door, yes please, I want it over here. Door, I want it over here. Look at that. So now we have positionable doors. Let's turn that one off. I don't want a door on that side, and this one needs to come down the bottom here. Brilliant. There we go. Editable rooms. Now, let me see. I'm going to turn that one off. Let's go over to this room here. Put a door on this side. It's a bit small. Let's make the room a bit bigger. Oh, we can see. Now that because we positioned it relative to the center, it'll move as you drag one side, which is fine. I don't think we need to particularly worry about that too much. But we might want to position it differently. Let's say there. Let's play with this a bit more. Right, so we've got a room here that we want to join here. Now, at the moment, it doesn't do anything. It just mashes the meshes together. You can see it doing that. What we want it to do is for the door to basically broadcast where it is to the rest of the scene, and so the other procedures can pick up on that. Am I going to have time to do all that? Probably not, but we're going to start. It's part of the handle system and the interaction system, but we have the ability to it's part of the editing system. The ability to do something which is called add something which is called a modifier to the scene, and we can also add queries to the scene. And then so one procedural object can have modifiers, and another procedural object can have queries. And where they overlap, the one with the query will get told about that. It'll pass the information about the modifier that intersected it and any parameters that come with it, and it gets a bounds in its local space, which all very useful. So I might whiz through some of this and try and get it working without going to too much explanation. I can always revisit later. Let's just see if we can get that working. Right, let's save everything as a reference point and go back in here. So, add all, yes, doorway. So, door. Where there's a door, we want... Right, let's go back up to the top. We've got this smart editing control operator here. Now this is where content is the normal stuff you pass out and just the visuals. That's all the basics. This adds these three things here. The handles we are using for the interactive handles. There is a special handles input called interacting, which is for if you want your handle still visible while you're interacting, because if you may have noticed that when you actually drag, all the handles disappear. You can use that input to keep it visible, but for something that's affecting the visuals, you'd usually want the handle out of the way, and the handle is largely just for selecting things. So that's those two, but we have another one called fields. Now I mentioned the modifiers and the queries. Well, they're all types of field, and they're called fields like they're kind of like a magnetic field in that sense, and they're all any procedures that have fields work into a global system to work out if any of them interact with each other. So we can, if we want the door in the wall to add a field, it needs to again propagate up through the top to be able to be plugged in here. So this is our content, this is our handles, and we're going to add some fields. Let's merge those together. I'll just grab that in case we want more, and hook it up there. So we're going to bring the wall, we're going to get the door to put in a field for that, to say there's a door here, pass it all up through, and then pop them out here. And we will then hook up the query stuff. Let's have a look. Doorway, door. Okay. This knows where the door is, I think. Yes. Placed here. And there's fillers. Where have we got? Place. I think that is that the door? Door frame, that one. I think that's the door. Is that the door? That's the door. That's the whole door. Although we probably want the whole. We want the whole thing. The original frame. Let's do that because there's some adjustment here to fit it into that space. Is that right? I think so. Right. Editing functionality. We have a thing called create modifier, which we're going to hook up to be the whole frame of the door. So over here. The moment given that, so each modifiers and queries match up by name. So if we just say door, then this will say create a field in the world called of type door. At the moment, that bounds information we already get. We don't really need any other parameters, maybe. I don't think, because really what we're trying to do is when a door from one room intersects a wall of another, we want it to make a gap. So it's not going to be putting a door in, but it'll be putting a gap in. So that is going to be all we need. We just need the bounds. So we don't need to do anything else. So what we're going to do there is we don't need to pass any parameters in, just need to give it a name door, and that's our modifier. Is that right? Yes. Let's call it modifiers because I might have more than one. This is again visuals. So that should be all we need, but we do need to propagate that back out to. Okay, here's our modifiers. Let's move that out of the way. Call this visuals to match. Oops. Visuals to match. Is it here? Yes, we've got modifiers. So we've already got visuals, handles, now we've got modifiers as well. Bring that out, that's fine. And up here, we now have all the modifiers, which we can That's the wrong terminology. It is a modifier, but the general term is fields. So we'll call it the fields output. Fields. Wall. Fields. Yeah, that makes it a bit neater. Here we go. Right. So now we can hook up all our fields. Oops. Gather them all together, like so, and that's the fields. Right. Now they're not going to do anything right now, and there isn't really anything to see because it's feeding it into the field system. So we have to wait till we set the next bit up to be able to see any results. Now what we've done, so what happens with these fields? Oh, so this wall wants to know if there's any doors intersecting with it. So, or each wall does. So in the wall, we are going to need this fields input for something else. So let's move this up the top. This is the wall visuals. In order for the wall to know about any doors, it needs a query. So the modifiers are picked up by the queries, and the query has a bounds as well because it'll only pick up things that have that overlap. Interestingly, it also won't pick up modifiers that come from itself, which is actually probably quite important. Now this is a query. Now the naming gets a bit messy, so what I'm going to do is this is a query for let's call it other doors, just to make it clear that we're not looking for our own doors. It's not a great name, but I will need to copy that because it'll become clearer why I've called it that in a minute. The bounds will be the wall because we want to know if it intersects. We're going to have to so these are fields as well, so let's merge it in with the fields. It's a bit unfortunate there's a lot of stuff kind of to set up before we see anything happening. Yeah, I'm just going to leave that floating for there for the minute. So this is a query looking for other doors. Makes sense. What we have to change here, this modifier for each door needs to have the same name. It needs to contribute to the list of other doors, and each one of these, like i.e. each door, will get added to the global list of door fields. And the reason that's a better name is because when you do a query like this is also saying I want to know about things contributing to this channel, this field type, and if you find any, tell me by one of my inputs. And the input it comes in on has to be at the top level, and it has to be a list called the same name. I'm just going to do a bit of diagnostics just to show it working. So we need a list input, and it needs to be called other doors. Other door field, no modifiers. So if a door from another room intersects a wall of your room, it will get this information passed into that list. Very funky. At the moment, so the parameter list on a procedural object. The moment you can't edit lists, it's quite involved. So at the moment it doesn't, but it does show you how many items are in the list. Maybe that might work. Is that live? I can't remember if that's live. If I move this over, what happens? Ooh. That goes up and down. That is interesting because that is this object. Oh, hang on, no. Which object is selected? That's a good question. I'm not sure. Let's visualize it. It's not clear which is selected and which input we're actually looking at. Plus this has also got a door over here, which I might turn off. Right. Because what we want to do is on this room, we want to tell whether this door from this room has been intersecting with the wall. Quickest way to do that, let's just visualize that whether or not this has anything in it. So if we do greater than, so if this list has anything in it, so the count is greater than 0, we're going to do something. Let's add some visuals. Let's make it show let's just draw the frame of the whole room. That'd do for a minute. We can test if it's working. And we got that's one there. Content. So if we now grab this room. Oh, interesting. What is going on here? Not updating this one properly. I mean, this one's got. Hang on, let's turn off the smart editing, go back to regular editing. Oh, it's not validated it. Okay. Might be a bug. It's not refreshing this object when we move away, which is a bit annoying. It is working though. You can see it refreshes if you're moving it. I wonder why that is. Yeah. So we can see, let's do it this way. We can see as we, that's probably a bit better way of doing it. So as this room intersects that doorway, oh, interesting, it does it on but not off. Oh, it does sometimes. Okay, there's some funkiness going on here. I don't know exactly what the problem is. It might be that it's intersecting itself, or there's a bug. Okay, let us do some more investigation. All the walls are checking, and it comes in at the top level. Right. Having it come in at the top level is less useful because we have to work out, do a whole lot of logic to work out which side that has been touched by a doorway. So what we're going to do there is chain like we did before with it, where we had an input for each direction. I think we're going to do the same for the same here. Is that going to work? No, this is an interesting problem. I think as long as rooms aren't reoriented, it would work, because it would mean an east wall could be looking for west doors, and a west wall could be looking for east doors, and the same north-south. That would work, but it wouldn't work if you turned a room round. For now, I think we'll have to accept that. It's not going to be very easy to do otherwise. Right, I might leave that for next time because it is now over an hour, and we'll see what it looks like next week. But we've got some progress. I'll save everything. It nearly works, the interaction. I might see if I get a moment to check exactly what's going on and whether that is right. We've also got it so that the bounds of the door is this inner one, I think, so it doesn't own. Well, I don't know why it intersects there. Why does that intersect there? There's a gap there. I could always visualize the queries and things, couldn't I? That's going to be the wall bounds. No, the door bounds, isn't it? Okay, I need to work that out. Right, I think for now that's good. Let's just quickly play with the thing again. So we can recap. We can toggle a door on and off on a wall. We can drag it backwards and forwards. Oh, the blue box. Maybe that should be where the door is. That would make sense, wouldn't it? But now it just is in the center. Think about that. But yeah, toggleable doors, adjustable positions. Okay. Oh, actually, maybe if you click the door, it should toggle off, like clicking the wall toggles it on. Sure, that should be easy to do because we have the toggle operation here, and if we click we can toggle like that. This is toggle door. Doop, 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 doop. Yep, there you go. Nice. Okay. Oh, I could offset it fairly easily, couldn't I? See, the door position is relative to the center, and we've got the center, 10 meter center there. We just need to apply the same offset. Ooh, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do. Can I? No. No. There you go. Right. This handle, instead of just being in the center, I need to offset by this door offset, which, sure, if we convert it from an integer and we offset by some amount in units, because we've got that unit measurement, and it's in the Y. You see it's 10 meters in the Y, which is the door length, and we need to make it into a vector. Float. Yeah, that one in the Y. So we're offsetting. Look at that, it lines up. Nice. Brilliant. I think that's all. That's going to be good. I think that's where we'll leave it. I'll capture some little videos of it in action. And post everything. Yep, as usual. Thanks for watching. Take care. That's an hour and a bit, which is good. See you next week, hopefully. Bye.